derivative means derived. Something is derived from something else. So if teachers are breaking it down like that to its basic core piece and tapping into the energy and the spirit of these young people and relating to something that they can understand and relate to, of course, who feels like sitting in that boring classroom?
Woo! You better listen, Assata. I'm trying to tell you, because you know, when you break it down that way, and for you saying that some of these teachers don't even know how to teach it in a way for our students to understand and learn, because they don't even know how. They've studied something in a textbook or in school, and then now they're bringing that into the classroom. And we know that all kids don't learn the same. But if you simplify it the way you did and broke it down the way you did, I think everyone would catch on. Like with certain math, that's where most people, you know, addition, subtraction, division, I guess the starting levels end up being within those levels, but you have to learn how to apply it, like you said. The division is on top.
Exactly. And fully understand it. Education means to educe. All we're doing as teachers, we're not giving our children anything. Educe, we're bringing out the genius in them.
Yeah.
And we can't do that when we're doing things saying like, you didn't do it the way that I taught you, so I'm marking it wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought of a better way. Maybe they thought of a way that hasn't been created yet. So you're hampering their creativity and their ability to intellectually think on their own. And what you really want them to do is simply regurgitate information. And that's not thinking.
Yeah.
Right. And the other piece is that you have to find out what children are interested in. They have different interests. They all have different intelligences. And so if I have a student that is good with drawing, but they're not good with taking tests, why will I keep giving them written tests?
Come on, Assata.
I can bring that child to my desk, and I'm using a real name of one of my former students that had this issue, and I can say, Rashonda, draw me what I'm explaining. Okay, well, if this is this, then what's that? And I can simply ask questions to know that they understand it.
Yeah.
And so that's the purpose, is to figure out what is each child's intelligence. And the other thing is to treat them with respect.
Yes.
I remember one time I was on my computer and one of my students, Ronald, came in and he was talking to me, and I was on my computer while he was talking to me, and it hit me then. It was like, get his brother some respect. Like, stop looking at my computer, look him in his eye when he's talking. Because how many times is this young black man, how many times is he disrespected on a normal? And here I am, his principal, he's talking to me, and I can't take a few minutes to look up from my computer and look him in his eye and give him respect. And so I apologized to him and closed my computer and listened to what it was that he was saying. And so that's a small example. But when if I'm, hey, you know, that probably made you jump, right? Who wants to be yelled at?
Yeah. You know what, Assata,
your eyes rolled at and to throw their hands up. No one wants that. You can say, you know what, Journey baby, you know what? Let's try a different one. I bet you can do this one.
Let me tell you, and that's the thing. I just want to read this, and I'm going to say this. Laura says, what I did not know that trig is just a circle. Mind blown. I agree with you, Laura, and a lot of people don't know. Like, if you ask me to do math, like, my kids are amazed that I can do math in my head like nothing. Like, they're pulling out the calculators because, you know, 30 and under, that generation, everything is calculators.
Yes.
And a lot of stuff I can do in my head, and they're just amazed. And it's because of the simplistic part of it and what you do and how you know, the decimal point and all of that and how you're moving. If you're even talking about percentages or what to give for a tip or anything like that. But I think people weren't taught that way. And when you say that, you know, although my degree is not in early education, it's in human services, but I wanted to be a teacher, and I still teach in different ways now, but, you know, in human services and in teaching in this way. But years ago, I remember, you're just bringing up so many different things. Years ago, I was a long-term sub for this elementary classroom, right? Mm-hmm. And this was a white school. That's why I'm so glad my daughter is like, I'm going to teach with people that look like us. And I'm like, yep, so they can see what they can become. And I'm all for that. So I'm so glad that I didn't have to influence her that way. I guess being her mom, it influenced it anyway, because she knows how I roll. but I'm glad she came up with it. But I remember in the classroom, and I was the teacher, original teacher, was on maternity leave. So you know how long that was. So that was my classroom during that duration. And I remember she left the notes there. And for this student, this, watch for this student. Instead of lesson plans, it was like picking. So this class was majority white, and the people to look for were the Black students. And it was this Black little boy. I wish I knew his name. I wish I could find him now. This was 20-something years ago. And I remember her saying, he's a troublemaker, he's this and this, all of this negativity. So of course, me being Kendéll, what I did was went straight to the Black boy, and I was like, you're gonna be my helper. Everything I need, I'm gonna keep you right here. And I know, and I didn't care what they thought, and I kept him here. That boy was brilliant, right? But they thought, oh, he's a troublemaker. Yes, because what you're giving him is too easy. So now he's sitting there twiddling his thumbs, not knowing what to do, bored. So you're saying that he's mouthy, he's this, all of these negative things. And I was like, absolutely not. That boy was the most brilliant person in there. And just giving him that time, giving him that patience, letting me know that I saw him. And exactly. And I see the genius in you, as you talked about. And I really believe that kids need to be heard. It's not the time where it's like, okay, I'm the adult, you're the kid, I can talk to you any kind of way. No, taking the time, like you talked about your student. How important, and why do you think that more teachers are not like you in taking this approach? Because I think this is what they need, especially our children.
One is they aren't taught, and they don't care, quite frankly. And so part of, and I hate to say so many teachers like this, I'll say this, they think they care, but they still have a bias towards Black children in particular. And so what I mean by that, we often speak about an achievement gap. That's disrespectful, and it says that Black people are ignorant and that we are incapable of being helped, because this achievement gap has been going on for forever. That's not what we have. We have a belief gap that people do not believe in the intellect of Black children,
absolutely,
Black people in children, people in general. And so when you don't believe in something, you don't put the energy into making it a realization. If she doesn't believe, look, she gave you this negative resume of this young man before you even had an opportunity to meet him.
Now, what if I was a white teacher?
And that has happened. And that happened to him when he was young, I'm sure, because you weren't the only son that he came across, and that she did that to. And so that happens to our children, more so young Black men than anyone else. That happens to them. And oftentimes they're in these classrooms with these young white teachers. And I'm not saying that all the white teachers are like this, because I have some, Miss Steele, Miss Miller. I have a number of them that were really good, and they were about to work. But the majority of them, these young white teachers, they expect for our little boys to act like little white girls. And that's not going to happen. They're going to act out or rebel against that, period. And not all children are going to just give in to authority. This country didn't give in to authority, hence the Boston Tea Party. And boys have that same type of strength, and they're not just going to give into it like that. Some will act right, quote unquote, behave. Girls more so than boys, but a lot of them, they're like, hey, I have this strength, this fire in me, and what is this confinement where I have to stand in a square, line up, have my desk sitting here like I'm getting ready to work at a Ford power plant, and be programmed like this, and I'm fighting against this? No.
And let me tell you something. You said a belief gap, not an achievement gap. Not because they can't do it, or because they're kings and queens, or they're beautiful people and they come from a beautiful people. Not because of that, but a belief gap. Do you know how powerful that is? And if people can just get that, That, and it's like you're condemning and you're ruling someone out before you give them a chance. You're putting them in this pile with all of these people and all of these ideologies and all of these things that you think, and you're putting them in that pile instead of taking the time to treat each child differently. Yes, I know some classrooms across this globe are oversaturated and they're packed. You know, you can't get to each one if it's not a charter school or a private school. I get all of that. But you still have to teach in a way where you can simplify, break it down, and everybody, like you said, they're expected to be the little girls and how they are. I think it's so important to be culturally competent with your students, especially if you're not of color or the people in your classroom, to really understand that. So I think that it goes beyond just having a degree in this field or that field. I think that it should go into a lot of the things that you're saying. Someone said, I'm finna cry. Whoa, girl, you just made me throw my phone. As they sense, and Laura said, you almost made her throw a phone. And they can sense that they are constantly being targeted. Absolutely. Again, not the achievement gap, but the belief gap. You know, people, and I love everyone out there. Just thank you for tuning in. I love that you are watching this, because you might not have recognized Assata Moore. You might not have known what she was talking about. And then you came on and you're staying. I think that that's so important, because oftentimes people click when they see someone's name that they know or see a face that they know. But to be engaging in this is so powerful. People are blown away by you. Yeah, and I am too.
Is, you mentioned, like, I know classroom sites, so on and so forth. Here's the thing. We can't complain and make excuses. You're posed with a problem. I was being paid 6 figures. I received a paycheck every 2 weeks. I had a job to do. I cannot say, oh, my classroom, students are coming in 3 years behind. Okay, that's the problem. What am I going to do to fix it? And so I had a saying at my school: we don't complain, we deal with it. We're problem solvers. Okay, don't sit around telling me what my students can't do. Get them to do it. That's what you're being paid for. Number 2, don't tell me anything about my parents, because we do not have parents that do not want their children to be successful. That's ludicrous, and that's also disrespectful to parents. What we have is that we have parents that have a lot of stuff going on. They aren't teachers. No telling what relationships are like, jobs are like, home life is like, and they're trying to manage all of these different things. It is our job as educators to get that piece right. And instead, what you do is you partner with the parent, because you can get so many. Hey, when I first started teaching and students didn't do their work, I'll pop up at their house. Some of the best cake made, some of the best homemade.
Because you care. Hey, and I think that's lacking. I wanted to eat
too. They would cook. They could cook. But when I didn't, one of the things, like when I became principal, for some reason, parents are a little bit more hands-off when they get to high school. So I only had 25% of my parents showing up for conferences. And I told my counselors, y'all getting me 100%, or we're going to have some problems in here. We did all type of buying parents donuts, meeting them at their car in the morning, serving coffee, texting them, having all the students pull out their cell phone to call them at a certain time. We made, when I got to certain hours, I would check my data. Hey, we had 60%. We're only at 80%. This is the day of conferences. We then walked to some of their homes to knock on their door, like, come on now, Miss Butler, I know you're in there. You're supposed to be, okay, Miss Moore, here I come. Right? We got to 97%. I still wasn't happy with 97% because I said 100%. So I told my counselors, now y'all need, I don't care if I have to go to their job. I want 100%. And so you have to be that intentional about the success of our people, our children, and our parents. Because it's not that children don't want to learn. It's not that parents don't want their children to be successful. They need those of us that are being paid to make sure that we're giving them everything that they need to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's powerful. And you giving them the tools so they can be successful. You know, your academic career and background extends more than, 2 decades. When you went to college, you wanted to be a teacher. How did it transit? That's what I was going to ask you. And if so, how did this come about? What did you originally go to school for?
what I went to school for and graduated with was mathematics and engineering.
Okay.
I intentionally did not want to be a teacher because in my young mind, they weren't paid enough.
Right.
And I didn't know about investing on the side yet. I started volunteering at a school when I was 18. And while I was volunteering at that school, I started doing in my class, in my college courses, Kirchhoff's laws, fluid dynamics, thermo, physics. I started doing all of that with middle school students, and they were picking it up.
Wow.
And so the principal was like, wait a minute. And she put me
in. And you were 18?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And so she put me in a classroom. I'm at Michigan State University, studied engineering and mathematics. And so she put me in a classroom and just let me go. And when I tell you, when I was done with these students, they were leaving 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Some of them as early as 6th grade. They were able to pass the entrance exam to Lansing Community College.
Wow. Wow.
I had AP Physics, Advanced Placement Physics as 8th graders. 7th
wow.
and 8th AP Physics. And that was from just letting me go with them. Like, I mean, they would be real, like, I knew how to come over, tap on the shoulder. Okay.
But how did you know this at 18? Like, how were you like this at 18? Like, knowing this, I think that's so powerful and it's so inspiring.
I guess I didn't have those limitations that they couldn't do it. Because here I am coming from the south side of Chicago. I'm at this all-white university, and not all white, but mostly white university. I'm in engineering, so you know that there aren't many people that looks like me. And my graduation photo is me and one other Black guy who's in mathematics and engineering doing that. And I didn't have, remember I spoke about the belief gap, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have that belief gap.
I love that. Now, did that come from your parents? Did that come from a special teacher? Where did that come from? When was it when someone first believed in you that you could do this? Because I think that that's the key. And that's so important because someone planted that seed in you and you were able to plant that in others. Who planted that seed for you that said that the sky is not even the limit? You can go beyond the sky.
Yeah, now I'm from the south side of Chicago in the Madden Park projects. And so there wasn't a lot of influence there. I think I learned the opposite way. I saw a lot of things that I did not want to be. And then I was good with mathematics. And so I wrote on that. And then when I was in 8th grade, my 8th grade teacher enrolled, said, hey, you kind of advanced with this mathematics. I'm going to have you go to Lindblom in the morning and you take your mathematics courses there. And then you come back and start your 8th grade studies. And then it just went from there. So I'd always been good at mathematics, but I also didn't have any limits. So even though I came from the projects, like those strong family values that tied you down and made you do certain things, kind of a fun family, but a loosey-goosey family as well, So I never really had those limits placed on me like that.
That's amazing. People are asking about your books. The one book is Get Your Ish Together. I don't know if I can say it. Guide to Getting Your Mind, Credit, and Money Right. I love that as a certified financial coach. I love that. The Wealth Formula, Secrets to Financial Freedom. I love that. I'm a money girl when it comes to that. So those are her books. And can they get those on Amazon? Is there a special?
Both of those are on Amazon. They can my name is unique, LaMailede Moore, LaMailede. We'll put the stuff there in the comments and everything. And my website is the Intravest. I basically took the word entrepreneur and investor, put them together, the Intravest. And because this wealth building is important, I'm a firm believer that no one is going to save us but ourselves. And so we have to
tried to pin it, guys. For some reason, I can't. I was trying to pin it. And for some reason, I can't. And I don't want to disconnect it. I was trying to. Wait a minute. Let me try to do it. I'm trying. They asked me to pin it, and I was trying to do that.
Okay.
I don't.
And in fact, my handle on Instagram is actually the website they can go to, theintravest.com.
Okay, theintravest.com. I'm sorry, I was trying to pin it.
No problem.
I'm sorry, everyone. But Laura, if you look at Laura Miller Pins, she has everything there. So if you're watching and you want to know how to get her books, you can go right. Can you say the website again? Theintravest.com. Is that it?
Yeah, theintravest.com. Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to I'm trying to look for hers to hold and press this comment. That's what I was trying to do. I think I pinned it. I was trying to hold it. Okay, there, I got it. It didn't work. I guess that was the charm. Okay, I got it.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. I just want to make sure. Okay, so you being just someone putting that seed in you allowed you to be that for someone else. So when did you start, you use historical facts. So when did you start saying, okay, wait a minute, this is connecting to this. This is an easier way to learn. This means this, you know, as people were like, I'm blown away. I didn't know that that meant that, when you just broke it down just for us. So when you just broke it down for us in 5 seconds, we got it. It registered in our minds. So when you think about students in a semester of a classroom and they're learning in a different way and not simplified as you said it, and they're not catching it. So they're taking a whole year trying to figure out, some being left behind, some having to repeat it because they're not catching it. But with you and just the way that you said it, it was easy for all of us to catch it. When did you start correlating the things in history and math being the blackest thing ever? When did that connection come about for you?
That came when I started volunteering at the school. So the school was Sankofa Shule in Lansing, Michigan. And I had a phenomenal woman that is, you know, now my second mom, Dr. Freya Rivers. And she was very African-centered. And we had Scott, like the founder of Kwanzaa, Dr. Malana Karinga. I can call him right now. And, you know, I say, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, and he will do it. Dr. Asante, so she had me around these elders, these scholars that, you know, were deep into the African-centered philosophy. What she did better was she took her teachers on trips. We went to Egypt 3 times. We went to Ghana. We went to Senegal. I've been to Russia, Sweden, Portugal, Spain, Latvia, and Finland. I mean, all of these different places. And so she put that spark of learning. And then I was able to visit those museums and see the things for myself and then start writing on it. As far as mathematics, I started looking at the physical world as well. So a lot of us have heard of, you know, a squared plus b squared or a plus b squared, those things, right? I'm able to take those and apply it to math. So if I do 54 squared, I know that that's going to be 2,500 plus 400, that's 2,900, and 4 squared is 16. So that's 2,916 if I'm going to multiply 54 squared in my head, okay? I know that if I do 11 times 27, that's going to be 297, because I can see the pattern in the way that things work together. And mathematics, just as life, is about patterns and cycles. We pick a president every 4 years, and there's a cycle that happens within that pattern, okay? Nature, the different seasons, they come at a pattern, and within that pattern, there's a certain cycle that happens. The same thing with mathematics. Children, once they can see the patterns and the relationships, it becomes easier to them, but they need to be able to relate it to something real.
Let me tell you, Miss Moore, you are blowing people's minds. They're like, what in the world? Because what you're saying, and I'm floored, and I'm a woman of a certain age. I had math long time ago. And I'm like, well, what? Do you know that I could have been more of a genius right now had I known? And that is the difference. People are saying, oh, peace and blessings to you, Queen. Well, thank you. Thank you. What in the world? See, this is part of it. This is the difference. Shaking my head.
I mean, it's easy. So take one of the things that we most of us have flown on an airplane before, right? You look out the window and you see that they let the little flaps up. Here's what's happening with it. If they don't let those flaps up, here's what happens. Everyone's dead. Why is that? And then you get into the mathematics and everything of why if they don't let those flaps up, we're all out of there. If you want to see how I can show students how a plane flies by a beach ball and a blow dryer, because the blow dryer, the hot air underneath, the cooled air having it to have that lift, drag, and you get into all of that. And those are things that you can calculate and compute. You just need to be able to relate it to the real world, things that we do all the time. And I know all of y'all gonna be looking out the window to make sure that those flaps come up, right?
Right. Everybody, right. Mask is tight and making sure you're looking out the window to make sure.
Right.
Absolutely. But that was a great analogy. And even if, even anything that's broken down and simplified is easier to learn. And especially if the teacher is caring, whoever that teacher might be, the teacher inside the classroom or outside the classroom, to really be patient and understand that everyone learns differently. But a lot of people learn the same if it's simplified that way. If you're breaking it down that way. I mean,
look at this, Kendéll, you're the best. I mean, you're going to be so excellent when you grow up. Let me see. You know what? I bet you about to blow this math problem out the water. Do you realize how you about to handle that math problem right now?
You know what? I'm going to show out with that math problem. Let me tell you, I'm going to be using my fancy, right? Give me my good pencil. I'm going to be doing it. But let me tell you something, how true that is, Assata, because
as opposed to if I said, Kendéll, it's 3 times 3. You can't get that.
And I'm going to be frustrated and I'm going to throw my pencil.
Thank you.
Let me tell you, my 5th grade teacher, Flora Parker, I talk about her all the time in the 80s, Flora Parker. I grew up in South Jersey. She was from Florida. Little country woman with a jerry curl and rosy cheeks. She was my everything. I loved her as a teacher. You know, she told me when I was 10 years old that I look good in red. And you see, I have red lipstick on. Every time I wear red, I feel beautiful because of what she poured into me.
Yes. Yes.
You know, if she would have said, you know what? Why do you wear red? You look terrible. Right. Then I would have a complex at this age and afraid to wear that.
Yes.
It's so what you're saying.
We know that that's important to children. Children want to be just like adults. And here's how we know that that's important. There's a whole platform called Facebook, Instagram, and all that, where we want to look and see how many people liked or hearted our pictures. So if adults need that type of affirmation, what do we think children need?
Woo!
Right.
Woo! And it's so important. And just you even tweaking something as simple as that. Are you going to be frustrated as your teacher, or are you going to be positive as a teacher and influential in this child's life? Just something that you took not even a minute to do. Say, you know what, Kendéll, you're going to rock this math problem, or look, let me tell you, that puts that frustration and that fear. So you might have a child that's 10 years old and fearful, and then they get into college and now they have this math problem. They're fearful to raise their hand or to do it because of what that teacher said.
And now they're not going to major in the careers that are 6 figures plus, where they can contribute to changing the world and not just being consumers.
Come on.
We stopped that. And then we're stopping generational wealth even by doing that. Right? So, I mean, it's critical. This is critical. And I mean, it's so just true. Yeah, I mean, even adults, you know, I can sit down with an adult and do the same thing. Adults, they have a stronger fear wall put up. So you have to kind of carve through that fear first. And what you do is you don't give a person that's having difficulty, you don't give them 375 times 28. You start with 3 times.
Yeah.
And then you work your way up and you put a little rhythm to them. You let them know that they're doing good, and let's get it. And now we're going to do another one because you're killing it.
See?
Right.
And I went to school in college back in the 80s, and then I came back around and I got 2 degrees, one at 41, one at 47. And that was some years ago, not telling, you know. But I say that because when I went back and got those 2 more degrees at those ages, let me tell you, at those ages, I was like, Lord, I hope I don't have to take a math class. Because if I have to take a math class, I ain't never going to graduate. And I said that. And math still had me shook.
You and millions of us.
It still had me shook. I still was saying that. And I passed that down to my daughter. Not the math fear, but my anxiety over that. And I was like, what do I look like going back to school? And then they're going to give me they're going to give me math. And I was so happy that I had taken, you know, I didn't need them for when I went back, but I was still shook in my 40s, like, please, Lord, don't allow me to have to take a math class or any type of class in that nature. So what you're saying is accurate. Yeah. It's accurate. And like I said, if teachers taught how you are teaching right now, like you said, you would be in fields of engineering and sciences and biologies in the STEM world. Absolutely. Have you seen the difference in and I'm sure you've documented all of this, but with students who were not so good at math, and then after working with you and teaching them how they just soared?
I have many. I can give a couple. I'll give one that's from a learning and one from a behavior. So one from a learning is Jason, and the public schools were looking to, you know, give the label of special ed, and that doesn't do anything, you know, they still, I mean, whatever. And so he came to us, and again, you have to figure out what children like. This kid, Jason, he loved money. So I started doing all of his math problems and everything around money. And it turned out that he was dyslexic. Jason right now is Dr. Jason Shear in Boston. Yes. Got the Gates Millennium Scholarship. He's has his doctorate. He's getting another doctorate because he eventually wants to run a hospital. Okay. He was not the A+ student, so on and so forth, but he loved, you know, math. He loves the classroom, so on and so forth. I have another one, Tevin. He's more recent. I was actually his high school principal. Tevin was, you know, knucklehead in Chicago. You know how we do in Chicago, and all that stuff going on. And I saw him in the house. Hey, you're going to be in my engineering class. Mind you, I didn't have an engineering class yet because I'm the principal. See? And so I created an engineering class. Tevin was in it. And it was around the time of the earthquake that happened in Haiti. And so we built a shaker table, and I took the whole class to Home Depot. We bought all of the tools. They had to do the fractions, the conversions, get the wood cut, do all of this. We built the shaker table so that we can test the different Richter levels to determine if a structure were safe. And we studied the history of Haiti, and we did all of that. After that year, that was Tevin's junior year. His senior year, because I couldn't keep being a principal and teaching, and I couldn't find an engineer that would come teach for what I'm paying, right? $50,000, you know, yeah, twice that. I had Tevin and another student who was now a junior, Priscilla. I had the two of them teach the students. So now they're using their elective. They have a full class. They have to write the lesson plans, grade papers, and do all of that as if they're the teachers for the classroom. And there's not another adult in there, and they have 25 students. And they did that for 2 years. Priscilla took over after Tevin graduated. Tevin is now an engineer in Atlanta. Priscilla was originally from Ghana. She graduated from Stanford with her engineering degree, and she went back to Senegal. She's between Senegal and Ghana, helping with their infrastructure. And she wanted to do something with water and something along those lines. So I have a number of examples like that. I have Deanna on the East Coast that's in technology.
And you knowing their names off the top of your head shows how much you care.
Yeah, yeah. And I've kept my cell phone number the same for all of these years since I was 20 when I first got a cell phone. So the number is the same so students can, and we stay in touch. You know, I go visit them when I go to certain places. I stayed at Tevin's fiance's place when I was doing a contract down there. Rodney, and they invited me to their graduation still. Their children, I'm godmom to some of their children. And so I'll be in Vegas with Katia and her daughter for her graduation. Rodney is also a doctor. I mean, so I can go on and on with different examples of students that are doing really well. One of them is now one of my partners that graduated in 2010. She's now my business partner. And, you know, she went into nursing. I mean, so I can go on and on with examples of real life examples.
Wow.
You know, yeah.
And you had them since they were young, and you watched the development and watched the part that you played kind of almost blossom them into this education and this way of learning. I think that that's amazing. I have teachers in my family. I have a certain affinity and a heart for educators. So, because I know the difference that an educator can make in a child's life. I think it's so important to really invest in our children in that way. And